Just 5 days to go, as Leland points out, and President Trump says he'd be proud to shut down the government over funding for the border wall. His pick, though, for acting chief of staff Mick Mulvaney is the guy who led the push for a 2.5-week shutdown over Obamacare in 2013. Here to weigh in on this is my A-Team political panel, Doug Schoen, Democratic campaign consultant and Fox News contributor, and David Avella, the chairman of GOPAC and a GOP strategist. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about Mick Mulvaney first. So, Doug, I'll go to you.
Yeah.
Democrats seem to be saying that the Mulvaney pick makes a government shutdown likelier, but I can't figure out why that's the case, because he's not going to come into office until the end of the year or, January or later. General Kelly's still in office, is he not?
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying and the way I see it, Jillian, is that there's no momentum for compromise. And Mick Mulvaney, whether he be acting chief of staff or acting chief of staff designate, is clearly not going to have the impetus to do what I think the vast majority of the American people want, a compromise. Do border security, a pathway to citizenship for those 10 or 11 million that are there, and the dreamers. This is just political posturing. It's sad, it's destructive, and it hurts our country.
Well, David, do you agree? Do you think Republicans also want compromise here?
Being willing to shut down the government this week to solve the pre-existing condition situation we now have, given the Supreme Court decision, would win far more praise from Americans than a shutdown over border security, particularly in that as you go into 2019. And if the estimates are right and the belief that this new trade deal with Mexico is going to bring more money into the U.S. off of trade with Mexico to give us the funds to pay for the border, it gives the White House a far stronger hand in this border security fight, when many Americans are in a direct way going to be far more impacted by this pre-existing condition situation that we now have, that could be solved this week with Congress passing block grants to the states.
So something that Democrats think is actually giving them a stronger hand here when it comes to the shutdown is the Chuck and Nancy meeting this week in the Oval Office. I want to get both of you to weigh in on that. It seems like the consensus, at least in the media, is that Nancy Pelosi played her hand well. She was strong. She held her ground against the president. So, I don't know, Doug, does that kind of give her a little boost going into the potential speakership?
Absolutely. I think it solidifies the likelihood that she will get the remaining votes she needs from her caucus. I think with Democratic control coming, it's going to be tougher rather than easier for the president to push the wall. And I think David is right. If he was willing, President Trump, willing to do a shutdown on pre-existing conditions and said, look, we got to solve this. This would benefit the Republicans and the Democrats, I dare say the country, a lot more than a kabuki-like fight about building a wall with $6 billion that the Republicans are never going to get.
David, I know you don't agree with that.
No, the White House was smart to have this meeting and let the American people see both sides of this argument. Did it help Nancy Pelosi? Doug's exactly right. Yes, that's exactly what the Democratic base.
I'm surprised to hear you admit that, David.
It's exactly what the Democratic base wanted. They wanted to see Nancy Pelosi be a fighter. But just equally, the president was a winner in that, look, here is transparency in government. Here's what the Democrats say they're for. And to his base, he sent the exact message that he wanted to send. So buckle up. It's going to be an interesting 2 years with a Democratic House, a Republican Senate, and the White House in Republican hands.
What did you guys make of the vice president's reaction? There was a lot on social media, a lot of memes reacting to the look on his face when some of the discussion was going down. Doug, what was your take?
My take is that he is a non-factor, at least publicly, in policy making. And watching his body language suggested to me that Mike Pence, a good and decent man, wanted to be pretty much anywhere else than where he was. Just look at the screen and you see an awkward, uncomfortable, rigid man. And I just wish that we had a vice president who was fully engaged in trying to promote compromise with his former colleagues in the House.
David, you got 10 seconds. Did you read it that way?
Smart people don't try to upstage their boss, and the best advice that Mike Pence can give is to give his counsel to the president privately.
All right, gentlemen, thank you as always. I will talk to you both soon. Have a great weekend.